Welcome to On Target TV, episode 3. We are going to talk about precision rifles. Since we've decided to do that, we've got one of our friends, Mark from Accurate Ordnance, going to talk with us a little bit about being accurate at long ranges.
You know, people come into our shop or they come in here to On Target and they talk to Lee and they say, I want to shoot long distance. You know, the first thing I would tell them is define for me what long distance is. Because some people, they grew up at 100-yard ranges, that was all they had access to. So for them, in their mind, 300 or 400 yards seems like a really long distance. And for those of us that are active participants in the Precision Rifle Series and similar type matches, things don't really get sporty until you're past 800 or maybe even 1,000. And if you go talk to F-class guys, the F-class guns that we build for F-class competitors, they're 1,000-yard target guns. So, you know, things start and end at 1,000 yards for those guys. So to them, that's kind of a normal distance. For the rest of us, that seems pretty long distance.
So the difference here, I just wanted to explain this for some of the guys that don't really know what that is. So the Precision Rifle Series, we're moving around and shooting off of barricades, and we've got multiple distances, we're engaging, and it's time drills, and you're gonna be in a position where you're taking 10 or 12 shots in a minute and a half, maybe from some different positions.
Absolutely.
F-class, we're talking about a super heavy gun. They're putting this thing up on a bench. They've got 20 minutes to take 10 shots, and they are not engaging the rifle very much. I mean, they basically set that rifle up, they put the thing on the target, and they want to touch the rifle as little as possible. They want to come down and they want to pull the trigger. Am I correct?
You're correct. The F-class game, it's just a very different game. The F-class game becomes much more of a wind reading and ammunition loading game. So they're trying to beat wind conditions, and the F-class guys, just got to correct you on one minor thing. If you tell an F-class guy that he's going to shoot off a bench, he's going to smack you upside the head, because those guys are prone out. They're actually manipulating the rifle through. They have rests that usually have a joystick on the front, but they are manipulating the rifle. They're really good at doping the wind and seeing what the wind effect is and knowing how their gun is going to behave in different wind. Because the wind, left to right wind, not only affects your left to right on your bullet, but it affects your elevation as well. So those guys are really super good at that. But what and you're right as far as minimal hold on the gun. They're shooting what I call either a minimal hold or free recoil. So they have to manage that recoil too. Some of the popular calibers in F-class are 300 WSMs, and they're not allowed to use braked rifles. So you're a man. You're a man shooting a 300 WSM, and make no mistake, you take a PRS guy and take them to an F-class event, and they'll say, "Wow, that's different." Because those guys, if you're not shooting 20 rounds into like a 3-minute group, you're not high on the leaderboard. So it's a very different game, but you're absolutely right. On the PRS side, it's very dynamic. The targets, most matches will have moving targets, so you're having to shoot a plate at 500 yards that's moving 3 miles an hour. You have to be able to track or ambush that target and know what your lead is in your scope to be able to do that. So it's a different game. You're shooting off rooftops, various barricades, in and out of vehicles, on top of vehicles. That's what
fun.
It's really fun. And like you said, it's tough part times. It's 90 seconds for most stages, some of them maybe 2 minutes, but 90 seconds, 10 to 12 rounds from various positions. It's challenging, and that's part of the reason why that is the biggest growth that we're seeing in shooting sports right now is in PRS type events.
So I get a lot of people that come into my shop and they look at something like this Remington here, and they look at one of your rifles, and they're like, well, they're both bolt guns. I can get a bolt gun in 6.5 from Remington or Savage, or the Ruger Precision is in 6.5, and you guys do other things in 6.5, but
Sure.
We all like 6.5. That's our caliber.
Great cartridge.
But so talk to me a little bit about the difference between, this $700-800 Remington and your $4,000 gun, and why I should pay that money for that.
I started off saying that people need to define for me what their idea of long distance is. The next question, or the next thing I would ask them to do, is define what accuracy you're looking to achieve out of your firearm. There's a difference between practical accuracy and precision accuracy. And so if a guy's coming into my shop or your shop and they're a whitetail hunter and they're hunting here in Georgia, most engagements, unless you're hunting a bean field, you're probably hunting at bow distance. You can pick any rifle off the shelf and put a decent scope on it, and you can be a successful hunter. So that to me is practical accuracy. I want to shoot the vital area of a white-tailed deer. Right. For precision accuracy, going back to like the PRS type events, this is a target from our friends at Best Targets.
I hate that target.
See, I love this target. This is 2-inch wide by 6-inch tall wind flag. And some of the matches that I shoot, it's not uncommon to see something like this between 300 and 400 yards. You need something that is capable of a precise shot. Unfortunately, you pay money for that. So again, going back to the practical aspect of things, if I was a hunter, there's nothing wrong with a factory Remington rifle like this. What I would look at if someone came into my shop and said, well, I want to maybe get into PRS. Number one, this is a BDL swing plate, which is fine if you're hunting, but if you're shooting 10 rounds in 90 seconds, you're not competitive top feeding this.
You need that detachable magazine.
You need detachable magazine. The other thing is this Hogue stock is a wonderful stock. I think it's one of the best things you can put on a 10-22. But on a centerfire rifle, you can actually see the barrel moving in this. It's just not a very rigid stock. And even resting on this Harris bipod, which is a great bipod, by the way, the barrel, when you fire the gun, the barrel whips. It doesn't whip up and down. It actually corkscrews around in the direction of the rifling. But what's going to happen is that barrel is going to hit the inside of that stock channel, and it's going to give you a weird harmonic, or I should just say an inconsistent harmonic. And so when people go to the range and they shoot our rifles like this, and they're hooked, and they say, man, I want to do that. And then they go buy something like this, and there's flyers every group, and the group is nothing like you get out of this type of a rifle. They start to question, what can I do to upgrade this? So this is a great rifle for a hunter. If you want to shoot more like precision rifle, I would upgrade this to a more rigid stock. The trigger is definitely something that holds a lot of people back on this particular firearm. They are factory triggers that are made to make lawyers happy. They're heavier trigger pulls. They're not very consistent. There's a lot of marketing behind certain factory triggers that say they're user adjustable. Well, they are to a degree. You'll never really get one that you can get all the creep, all the over travel out of. And it really comes down to consistency. Can you get the trigger to break consistently? So I can shoot a heavier trigger, a lighter trigger to me, and this is my 6.5 Creedmoor, I run 1.5 pound trigger on that. So I'm used to that, and lighter triggers are just something that I can shoot a little bit better. But I can shoot a heavier trigger as long as it's consistent. And that's something that's gonna hold a lot of people down or hold them back on being able to make this perform to the best of its abilities. So to me, I'd say right off the bat, I would replace the stock with something more rigid. I would upgrade the trigger. You want to have a proper mounting system, which would include some type of a base with a recoil lug. So again, that's the difference between a $50 base and a $110 base.
That being said, because the everyday guy is not going to walk in and go, hey, give me a $4,000 rifle. We do sell a lot of Remingtons. Sure. So I can take this rifle though and send it to you guys,
Sure.
and you guys can do all of that work for me. I mean, I can do that a little bit at a time. We always talk about building ARs versus buying an AR.
Right.
I know I'm kind of getting off on a tangent a little bit, but there's a point to this. You know, you buy an expensive AR right up front, it's a lot of upfront cost. If you build it, then you can do it a little bit at a time and you can displace that cost. Now you may end up spending more money than you would if you just bought it right up front, but I can spread that cost out a little bit. So if I buy something like this, I can send it to, you know, a custom rifle shop and have the stock work done.
Sure.
And have the action blueprinted and the trigger and, you know, put a bottom metal on it and things like that. I mean, those are things that you guys offer, right?
Oh, absolutely. And there are some things, feature set is one of the reasons people buy a custom rifle or start to customize rifles. People come to us for a variety of reasons, and it could be all of these reasons that they're interested in a custom rifle or customizing something they already have. It's feature set. So I want to get features that are maybe not available in the off-the-shelf gun. It's performance. So again, it's that precision performance. I want more out of the gun. So a more rigid stock will perform better. It will be more consistent. An upgraded trigger will be more consistent and therefore will perform better. And it's pride of ownership. You know, some people just look at it and say, "Oh man, this looks really cool." If that's the reason you want to buy it, I mean, if you want to buy the Lamborghini and you live in a school zone, you're never getting the thing out of first gear. I mean, that's cool. You know, I'm actually a little jealous that you can do that. You know, and I'd love one too. So, but the two primary reasons that people are interested in these things would be, I would say, the feature set and the performance. As far as feature set goes, if you're at a point where you want to ditch this stock and do something different with the stock, you may like something like this Manners composite stock. This is a T2A on this is my 6.5 Creedmoor competition rifle, and this is a T2A stock. It's got a wider forend. So right off the bat, you get a more rigid stock, but it's also wider here. If I'm shooting off bags, it's going to track on bags and sit in bags better. It's got a little bit less pronounced slope to the rear, which again is more conducive to riding a bag and tracking consistently off a bag. It's got a more vertical grip here and a little bit thicker palm swell. So this is a good upgrade. Or a guy might say, hey, you know what? I come from shooting AR-15s and I really like the pistol grip feel and the detachable mag that's more like on this chassis system. So some people will gravitate towards these chassis type systems. So this particular one is a Cadex chassis. This is my 308 competition rifle. Love the chassis. Another popular one for us is the XLR Elements, which I know some of you guys here in the shop have XLR Element chassis. And that, honestly, that's the best bang for the buck, the Element. You can get their standard Element chassis for, it's like $595, plus then the cost of a magazine. You get adjustable butt for length of pull. You get adjustable cheek for proper cheek height, and that's something again that may hold some people back here is getting your proper cheek weld. So that particular chassis gives you detachable bottom metal, rigidity, and then all these adjustable features for less than $600.
The other cool thing I really like about a lot of the chassis systems is this grip back here. If you don't like it, it's a standard AR-15 platform.
Sure.
I mean, you could put anything you wanted to put on there. You want a Magpul Mo or something like that. Now this is going to feel a little bit more like the Manners system, you know, what they come with, but that's completely interchangeable basically for whatever you want to put on there.
Oh, absolutely. That's a good modular feature. You also, different chassis have different ways of attaching various accessories. Like this one, I've got a couple different flush cup adapters on the sides. I've got a rail down here for my bipod. This one optionally, I don't have it on here now, but I've got a rail that fits here that I can mount direct to a tripod. So some of the PRS type stages, we may actually engage things off of a tripod. And so it's conducive to me quickly putting this rifle on that piece of gear. The other thing is some of the matches that we go to, like the Mammoth Sniper Challenge, things like that, you're actually humping your gear for several miles between stages. That's just part of it. It's a physical aspect of the match. So most of us are running an Eberly stock pack where you can stick your rifle in a scabbard on your back and then hump to the next stage. What's nice about this and some other chassis systems is you've got the side folding chassis here. So I can actually
get it in a little smaller pack.
Yeah. So, or for cleaning, for transportation, it's a nice feature to have. So again, going back to reason people upgrade things, feature set. So there's a lot of different features between the different stocks. So there's a lot of good ways of upgrading from a factory Remington gun to something more like this. And ironically, it's interesting that you brought up, is that a good path to maybe take for someone? Yeah, absolutely. And it's very popular. It's a popular way to go. We have a lot of people bring us Remington rifles, and they say, look, I've gotten a bunch of trigger time out of this. I've maybe made a couple upgrades like the stock and the trigger. Now I'm ready to get to the next level. So the next level would be to take off this old barrel, which is a mass-produced barrel, true the action, which includes squaring the face of the action, truing the bolt face, and squaring that to where it's perfectly perpendicular to the bore line. And then opening up the recoil lug, either truing this or using an aftermarket recoil lug, and then install a quality aftermarket hand-lapped barrel, which is what is on these rifles. So you're going from something that basically, no offense to my friends at Remington, because I do have a couple buddies that work there, but these barrels, they're kind of sewer pipes compared to an aftermarket barrel. Now, some of those sewer pipes shoot pretty good. I've seen, especially the Remington 5Rs, I've seen some Remington 5Rs that are honest to goodness quarter-inch guns.
So we've talked a little bit about, the monetary difference in all of this stuff, but, the physical difference is, a gun like this at, 300 or 400 yards, it's, a 3 or 4 inch group is a good thing for a rifle like this. The rifles that you guys build, and mine's exceptionally good, but I know you guys guarantee a 3/8 inch group or 3/8 minute group, and I have heard Mark say before, if I've got a rifle that will only do 3/8 minute, I'm probably gonna yank the barrel and put a new one on it. My gun is more like a 5th minute gun. We had mine out just recently at 500 yards. We have 5 shots that you could cover with a Kohler.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a 5th minute gun. So that's really the practical difference in accuracy from a rifle like this versus a rifle like this. And that's what you're paying for. You're paying for that accuracy. You really, if you want to be able to shoot golf balls at 600 yards, which we do regularly with these things,
right,
that's what you're paying for when you get that rifle.
Right. Absolutely. And the good thing, especially about, you mentioned earlier, the 6.5 Creedmoor caliber, it's really taken off in popularity. And one of the reasons that I still shoot that is, as you well know, I've got a young daughter at home. I don't have a ton of free time. And frankly, reloading is not one of the things that's favorite on my list. I'd rather be out hiking or shooting match or something. Honestly, I've got a good hand load, 136 grain CNR hand load for this rifle that will shoot in the teens. But I rarely shoot it. Most of the matches, every match I shot last year, there
Grab
was
some
like
140 ELDs off the shelf and you're good to go.
140 ELDs, I'm shooting box ammo, and you'll see a lot of guys at these matches doing the same thing I am. That 140 ELD ammo, and there's some other ammo manufacturers out there now. Prime is a good one, man. Their ammo is just incredible. So it's factory ammo, and it shoots just about as good as you can reload it. So I can put factory 140 ELDs through this rifle with the Prime ammo, and I'm shooting in the low .3s consistently. I can put my hand load in there and half that. So it gets to a point of I have the precision rifle, I have precise ammo. It's just how precise do I want to get on that day. I think there was one stage in a match last year where we did have one of these targets it was like 392 yards, and when I saw the stage brief on that, I thought, yeah, I'm gonna go dig out my 136 load, and I shot that stage with that. And I just put the offset in on my Kestrel, and it gave me the difference in what my dope was set up for the 140 ELDs, and clean the stage. Next stage, I'm back to the 140 ELDs.
Yeah.
So, and again, back to the upgrade path from here to here, the barreled action in any of these rifles really is the engine of the race car. Everything around that is the ergonomic interface by which you drive that engine. And so some guys are going to like the way this stock feels compared to this stock or something else. But the barreled action, here you've got a receiver that doesn't have that face quite square. And you'll see, it's very common in factory rifles, you'll see where the barrel doesn't sit in the channel straight. And people think, well, I guess that stock's a little warped. Well, no, it could be the barrel sitting kind of cockeyed like this because the receiver face is not square. So part of the truing is squaring that, and then we go in and we cut a full profile thread to achieve the proper geometry, consistent geometry that you would get in an aftermarket action like on these rifles. So once we've trued this and we install a quality hand-lapped barrel, and we tend to prefer cut rifling barrel over button rifling. That's a whole another video subject. But we stock barrels from Rock Creek, Brooks, Hawk Hill, and there are other good barrel manufacturers out there, but right now those are the three main ones that we stock. We get the same feature set in all of them. The barrels are 416R stainless steel. They're all cut rifling. They're all heat treated to relieve stress. I think Krieger is the only company still doing cryo, but they're all stress relieved, and then they're hand lapped at the factory. We can further hand lap. What the manufacturer is doing is hand lapping out all of the tooling marks. Like we could get into a whole nother video on barrel break-in. Do I need to break in the barrel? With these type of barrels, no. You go out and shoot it, because the only area in these barrels that might have some tooling marks would be the transitional area in the throat when you're going from the finish reamer that was used to cut this chamber. And companies like us, what we do to minimize any opportunity to have a tooling mark in there is we polish that area in the barrel before it ever comes off our lathe. We're doing all our chambering on a Haas TL1 CNC machine, and the consistency that you can get in that is just, it can't get better.
And that's why you get the quality you do out of the rifle and the accuracy that you're getting out of it.
Absolutely. Now, one other thing I'll mention, to be clear, once a quality shop, and then there's other shops that do things pretty close to the way we do them, and once a quality shop trues this action, puts on a new barrel, and you've addressed the stress issues or the rigidity issues in the stock, you've got as good of a barreled action and rifle as one of these. But there's still a couple things that you don't have in these aftermarket actions, and part of what you're paying for is a one-piece bolt. This is a brazed-on handle. I've seen more of these things snapped off than I care to see. So that Remington will shoot every bit as good as an aftermarket action.
Once you've spent $4,000 on it.
But you're spending a lot of money on it. And the thing is, we'll get some people that come to our shop, and they'll actually come here, or they'll go by Bass Pro Shop on the way to our shop, and they'll come in and say, here you go, I bought a donor rifle. Brand new Remington, strip it apart, throw everything away but the action, true it. And
okay. You're just keeping this part.
Yeah. Once you add on the cost of the truing, the recoil lug, a quality base, most people will do an aftermarket bolt handle. It gives you a little bit more to grab, and it's a little bit easier to manipulate the bolt. Once you added in all those features, you're just about at the price point. I mean, you're 75 to 100 bucks away from a Stiller aftermarket.
And you still have a Remington action.
You still have a Remington action, and it's not as rigid. You don't have as tight of a fit to the raceways. You've got that two-piece bolt, and if the last match I was at, we had a guy that had a hot load, and he had one of our Stiller-made actions, and he had to beat the handle up.
And you're going to break that off
back.
on Remington action.
And if he had a Remington, there was a pretty good chance he would have snapped that bolt handle off, and his match would have been done.
Okay. So we also have a couple other rifles out here that we wanted to talk about a little bit. The Accurate Ordnance rifles are great, but some people, want something, or different needs for different types of matches and things like that. If you want to be able to gauge multiple targets a little faster, then you might end up with a semi-automatic setup, and we've got a few here. This is the Lanzang VL34. These guys are good friends of ours as well. They're local to Georgia as well. They built a very, very nice rifle. That's a 20-inch Lothar Walther barrel on there. They get very, very good accuracy out of their rifles too, but they're building a precision AR-10. I mean, this is not your standard DPMS off-the-shelf AR-10. They spend a lot of time on these rifles matching their bolts and barrels and things like that. This bolt was made for this barrel. So they spend a lot of time on this. This is also a $4,000 rifle. So, it's in the same price range as one of the Accurate Ordnance bolt guns. but you know, it just has a little bit different, you know, a different use. Like I said, if you want to engage multiple targets quicker, then you could go with something like this. Thomas has got a couple other ones over here that he's going to talk about too, and some gas guns.
Yeah, so the Lanzang's great, really precise gun. Another AR-10 on the market, that would be a good option. The Christensen Arms CA-10. This one they did a little bit different than most people are doing. They used a lot of carbon fiber on stuff. The barrel is actually carbon fiber with a thin steel sleeve with a carbon fiber handguard. So this one's actually a lot lighter than most AR-10s out there. This would be great if you're having to move a lot, carry it more than you would in certain matches, and it's a very, very accurate gun. It's probably 2 or 3 pounds lighter than the Lanzang. So it's a great option that's on the market for an AR-10. It's also really expensive, talking $4,000 for pretty much both of them, maybe a little less on this one.
Again, there you go. That's, you're paying for the feature set.
Yeah.
Part on that.
Yeah.
All that carbon costs money.
Oh yeah, so
I mean, their barrels are $800, I think, just for the barrel.
yeah, we actually put one of their barrels on something recently. So AR-10's great. Something tried and true that everybody loves, the M1A. This
That's
is
a super match, right?
yeah, this is the top of the line. Everyone's been using these a long time, and they've worked for a long time. This is, I mean, this has the match barrel, the match trigger, the match stock. It's also a really heavy one, heavier than most M1As out there. But it's got a different locking system, of course, than the AR-10. Works really, really well. Military still uses these for their long-range matches, their rifle teams and such. They've proven themselves.
I think one of the issues that we see most with the M1A really is that mounting system. Because of the way that it attaches to the receiver, it's really hard to get that true and correct and get it sitting straight, because it doesn't attach to the receiver like all the rest of the, or to the top of the receiver like all the rest of these do. You've got an insert here, and then it attaches to the side of the receiver. These things, I've installed a few of them, and they're not very easy to install and get them correct.
And you're correct in that there's not a lot of really good ones on the market. Arms still makes one. There's a couple companies that make them. Having them mounted to the rifle and staying in place on the rifle is another challenge. Some are better than others. The other issue that we'll see with the M1As is the bedding on them and the way that action, again, with an autoloader, you've got a lot of moving mass to it. And so you've got a lot of things kind of wanting to shift around, and they're beating on each other. And it's a reason why a lot of people find it a little easier to shoot a bolt gun accurately compared to an autoloader. But with the M1As in particular can have bedding issues at about 1,500 rounds. You know, the AMU certainly experienced that a long time ago. And he passed away a year and a half ago. Local gentleman knew more about M1As than I think anybody on the planet, and he used to rebuild a lot of
Oh, you're
match
talking about
rifles.
Hook?
Hook Bowden.
Bowden.
Yeah,
Yep,
Hook.
yep,
Yep,
yep.
thank you. Sorry, I was thinking barrels. Boots Obermeyer. Yeah. Okay. So Hook. Yeah, and Hook was certainly a master at working on those. So they're great rifles. It's a classic design. Getting the mounting system on there is a lot of times a challenge. And as far as the autoloaders go, and just to throw another plug out there to the Lanzang guys, they're friends of yours, they're friends of mine. That I've shot a lot of autoloader rifles, AR-10 platform in particular, and that hands down is the most accurate autoloader I've ever shot. Super impressed with them. In fact, we get people coming to our shop asking us, hey, will you do a gas gun barrel for us? And I mean, we don't even want to bother with it anymore. We just tell them, look, call up Lanzang Tactical, go buy one of their rifles, and you'll be happy.
Yeah.
Great guns.
They guarantee 3/4 minute with their guns. This one in particular is realistically a half-minute gun. So you're talking, $4,000. You get an autoloader, 3/4 minute guaranteed. $4,000 over here.
3/8.
Yeah. So there's still a difference, but
And that goes back to what you were talking about, practical accuracy versus, I mean, when we're shooting matches, a lot of the times now, other than that stupid little ruler you've got right there, which again I hate, a lot of times you've got a 2-minute target or so out there, sometimes even a little bit bigger. So we don't necessarily have to have a quarter-minute gun for a PRS series. You know, if you've got something that'll shoot a good, a good true minute or three-quarter minute, and you're a good shooter, you can have a lot of fun in these PRS series.
Absolutely. I would tell people, and in fact, we get that all the time. People are coming in saying, I really want to get into this PRS stuff and I want to go to an event, but I don't have the right equipment. And I tell them, yeah, you're wrong. Just go. Number one, you won't find an environment with nicer people than you will at a PRS match.
That's very true.
It's a great environment if you want to get into it. Number one, I don't want to see people spend money unwisely. I like to say buy once, cry once, but don't overbuy. So I would encourage people not to go buy a whole bunch of different support bags and even optics and bipods. Take what you got, experience it, maybe see what other people there are using, borrow some of their gear, and find what works for you. Because what works for me may not work for you. I love this chassis. You may not shoot it well because just ergonomically it doesn't fit you. So just go out and try some things first, learn from the people that have done it for a while, see if you can borrow some things like I let you do, and that way you can make an educated decision on where you spend your money. So you could go, in fact, I've seen people at every PRS match I've ever been to run something like that.
And
top
fun.
feeding it, top feeding it, and they're having a good time. They got a good attitude, and they're not worried about where they're going to be placed on the scoreboard. They're there to learn. They're there to have fun and experience it.
And also making hits.
Oh, absolutely. And to your point about the accuracy need, yeah, you can be very competitive with a factory barreled action. You mentioned a rifle earlier that's not out on the table, but very popular, the Ruger Precision Rifle. They're great rifles. They're great to a degree. You'll see a lot of aftermarket barrels now. You can get some, in fact, we spin up barrels for those things. So there's some things that you can do to tweak them to gain a little more performance out of them. But back to feature set, if the stock on those, if the chassis system fits you and you like it, and you perform well with it, it's a good
Go for it.
rifle. I hear people say entry-level rifle. I don't think it's necessarily entry level. It's at a good price point, and if, again, the features fit you and you perform well with it, there's nothing entry about it. It's, you're getting what you want, what you need out of the rifle. The accuracy can be tweaked a little through load development. So some people get into it with like a Ruger rifle, and then they'll tweak a load, and you can get I've seen some of them shoot the same accuracy as one of these $4,000 rifles. So, but as far as being in a match, yeah, you may have a 2-minute target, but you're also having to shoot it from an awkward position. So, I mean, most of us have a lot of confidence in our rifles. If you go out there with a rifle that on its best day, it's shooting a minute, versus you go out there and I can shoot this thing in the teens, I got a lot of confidence in this equipment. And on our t-shirts, that's the most important word we put on there is confidence. If you've got that precision accuracy and you've got consistent precision accuracy,
Right.
It gives you confidence in the rifle. So spend your money where you think it's best used, but you'll see a lot more of these type rifles at those events because people are hedging their bets with the accuracy gain or the Langdon guns.
Right. These are also accurate ordnance rifles here, just so you can kind of see some of the different colors that they offer. And Accurate Ordnance does their Cerakote in-house, so you like a specific color, they can do it really whatever color you want to. These happen to be Macmillan stocks versus the Manners on this one, so they offer a lot of different things. Mark mentioned the Cadex chassis, XLR chassis. There's one other one that you guys do a bit with.
The AI chassis.
The AI chassis,
Yeah.
that's right, as well. So, Accurate Ordnance offers a lot of things. Wanted to say thank you Mark for being here with us and chatting with us, and appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you.
Thanks.